I will now share a story of Mirella Chavaida with you. At 24th week of pregnancy, Mirella Chavaida was told her baby had a fast-growing tumor. The fetus would not survive or would be born with catastrophic defects. Croatian laws allows abortion in such cases. Yet, Mirella turned to 4 hospitals in Zagreb, 2 refused outright and 2 never answered. Days passed. The tumor had kept growing. She was left without support, without information, and without psychological help. Desperate Mirella crossed the border to Slovenia. 3 doctors performed the termination, but as a foreign patient, she had to pay around 5,000 euros. In Croatia, more than half of public hospitals, gynecologists refuse to perform abortion, citing conscientious objection. Some hospitals have no doctor at all willing to help. Mirella's ordeal showed that in Croatia, abortion rights exist only on a paper. In practice, women are abandoned, forced to fight for basic care or to leave the country.
I will share a story of Andrea Prudente. In June 2022, American woman Andrea Prudente was 16 weeks pregnant when she began bleeding heavily while on holiday in Malta. Doctors confirmed her uterus had broken and the placenta detached. The pregnancy could not survive. But Malta then had a total abortion ban. Doctors told Andrea they could not do nothing while the fetus' heart was still beating. For a week, she was left in hospital, at risk of infection, forced to wait. Finally, her travel insurance arranged an airlift to Spain. The doctors immediately performed the termination. Andrea lived, but she left Malta traumatized. Her case became global news, exposing the cruelty of laws that deny women treatment even when survival is impossible. Andrea had her husband and her husband are now suing Malta, arguing that its abortion ban violated her human rights.
I'm going to tell you the story of Isabella. Isabella was 30 and 5 months pregnant when her water broke. She was admitted to the hospital in September 2021. Tests showed she had an infection. Doctor refused to act while the fetus' heart was still beating. So they waited as Isabella grew weaker. The infection spread. By the next day, the fetus has died. Only then did doctors perform a cesarean section, but it was too late. Minutes later, Isabella suffered cardiac arrest and died. Her final message to her mother said, "They can't do anything. They have to wait until the heart stops." Isabella's death shook Poland. She became the face of what happens when doctors fear the law more than they protect women's lives.
Welcome to the press conference of My Voice, My Choice community. Today is a very big day today because we had the first official meeting with the European Commission. We were able to present our proposal for safe and accessible abortion in Europe to European Commissioner Lebip. She is not yet allowed to give us any answers because the procedure is that the final answer will come in the beginning of March. And because of this, our meeting was focused on us explaining our initiative and on us presenting our demands to the European Union. What we know for sure is that 20 million of women in Europe do not have access to safe abortion. What we know for sure is also that abortion bans do not prevent women from having abortions. We know that when abortion is being banned, people will find their own ways to do abortion, which can lead to severe health complications and also mental issues and additional stress. What we are proposing to the European Union is an opt-in mechanism, which is not mandatory for all the countries in the European Union. It is based on voluntary opt-in mechanism, which will enable European citizens who cannot get abortion in their own countries to get it in other places. Today we are here to present you where our initiative is standing, what are our demands, and what are next steps in our journey. The first speaker today on the press conference is a doctor. She was one of the first people with whom we talked when we were preparing the initiative, and she will speak why the initiative on the European level is so important. Alicia, I'm giving you the floor.
Quality abortion care is not a luxury. It is life-saving health care, and it must be guaranteed for every person. Yet, more than 20 million women in the European Union live without access to safe abortion care. This is a preventable public health crisis. Every day, women's health and lives are put at risk in front of our eyes. As a gynecologist from Doctors for Choice Germany, I know firsthand what the negative consequences can be when people don't have access to abortion care. I've treated many women who had to travel long distances or wait for weeks to get the care they needed. I've seen women who were denied treatment because they didn't have the money or the right information, or because their doctor was not willing to help them. And I know what the consequences are if abortion care is denied. People resort to unsafe abortions, and the complications can be severe. They include heavy bleeding, infections, or injuries to the uterus. Sometimes this leads to infertility, sometimes the uterus has to be removed, and sometimes, tragically, it leads to death. But it is not only the physical health that is affected. Delays and restricted access have serious effects on mental health. They cause anxiety, isolation, and the feeling of being abandoned by the health system. The longer the waiting, the heavier the psychological burden becomes. The medical evidence is clear. If abortion is accessible, timely, and affordable, it is one of the safest medical procedures, both physically and psychologically. That is why the World Health Organization recommends removing all financial and organizational barriers to abortion care. As a doctor, I urge the EU to respect these evidence-based recommendations and to make sure they are translated into EU policy. Today, with the signatures handed over to the European Commission, people across Europe are sending a strong signal. They see safe abortion as essential healthcare and want it to be guaranteed everywhere in the European Union. This is a unique opportunity for the EU to show that it takes healthcare as a basic human right seriously. Thank you.
We know the facts, and also one of the facts which we want to present today is that My Voice, My Choice is not just a campaign. We basically created a very strong movement which will continue with our activities till the decision is made, and we will also continue with our activities afterwards. Matteo here is in his two roles. He's one of the coordinators of campaign to ban conversion therapy, but also he's one of the strongest members of our community, and he will speak about the importance of this community today.
Thank you, Nika. The 28th of September is not like any other day. It is the International Day for Safe Abortion. And here I want to underline the word safe, because you represent what is at stake today. The safety of European women in their access to abortion. All women in the EU should have access to a safe and legal abortion, but in 2025, European women still suffer from inequality in their access to abortion, depending on the country in which they were born in. That is why the European Citizens Initiative that is led by My Voice, My Choice is so important. And that is why on the International Safe Abortion Day, My Voice, My Choice, the movement, launched a letter campaign to the European Commission asking for support to ban conversion practices, for support to safe and legal abortion in the EU, and with 140,000 EU citizens joined our call, urging EU institutions to promote and defend reproductive rights in the EU and thus implement the demands of My Voice, My Choice. Thank you.
So we brought today 140,000 letters of support with us, and we handed them symbolically to the commissioner. And we would like to speak a little bit more about this meeting with the European Commissioner Labib, which was super important for us because of many reasons. And the first and most important is that we finally got a seat at the table and that we are now here fighting. Melody will present what we did at today's meeting and how it went.
So like Nika said, we had a meeting with the Commissioner Hadja Labib, who could not give us the answer today about our initiative, but today was still a very much important meeting because it's one of the first key moments for the institution regarding examining our initiative. We brought colors and laughter into a very formal building, and we're kind of proud of it. The meeting began with kind and encouraging words from the commissioner, and then Nika presented our initiative and how important it is to have safe access to abortion in Europe. We also reminded the Commission that unsafe abortion is violating basic human rights and that women are still dying today because of it. And the Commission carefully listened to us and to our demands. Then they asked us questions about our mechanism, so on a more legal step. And we were prepared for these questions, and we explained clearly what was at stake and what we have to offer. And we also addressed the improvement the Commission could do regarding the ECI collection system. We concluded the meeting with smiles and with laughter, as we do. And now we have a date on when the Commission will answer us, so it will be on the 2nd of March.
Thank you. And we still would like to give voice to two people from countries which are basically affected by the lack of access to abortion. I will ask Belle, who is from Malta, to speak, and Alice from Italy, just because we really need to understand why it is so important that we take the actions now.
Every year, at least 500 girls and women in Malta commit what we call a crime and what the rest of Europe calls healthcare. Almost 2 times a day, a woman or a girl in Malta has an abortion. I was one of those women. At 21 years old, at the height of the COVID pandemic, I needed an abortion. Travel was restricted, and it was difficult to go abroad, not knowing whether you'd be able to go back to your country. I was lucky enough to be able to have my abortion in the Netherlands. I was lucky because it meant I didn't have to take abortion pills in Malta and risk up to 3 years in prison. Unlike Andrea Prudente, who Alenka just said in 2022 was happily pregnant but faced deathly complications. Maltese doctors refused to provide life-saving healthcare, and she had to be airlifted to Spain to survive. I was lucky, unlike the anonymous girl who was raped at 16, became pregnant and walked to a suicide spot every day, telling herself that if she didn't miscarry by 4 months, she would jump. I was lucky, unlike the thousands of women in Malta who have to order pills in secret, facing abusive partners, judgmental families who would disown them if they found out, and friends they could never share their experiences with. Unlike the women in Malta, I did not have to risk my life, I did not have to lie to my healthcare provider, and I did not have to worry about a miscarriage being seen as a self-induced abortion. I was lucky because I did not, unlike a woman just 2 months ago, get sentenced to 21 months in prison for seeking healthcare. And I wish I did not have to stand here to fight for the right of women in my country to access healthcare when their lives depend on it. Because it shouldn't take luck to decide safely over your own health, life, and body. But here I am, on behalf of the more than 4,000 people who signed our initiative in Malta, to remind you that the World Health Organization considers abortion essential healthcare and states that restricting it does not stop abortion, it only makes them unsafe. International human rights law is clear. Denying abortion care violates the rights to health and to freedom from inhumane and degrading treatment. The European Parliament and the UN Human Rights Committee already recognize access to abortion as a fundamental human right. So here we are, asking for abortion to be treated as what it is, essential healthcare and a fundamental right for every EU citizen. Because access to abortion shouldn't be a matter of luck. It must be safe, accessible, and guaranteed for all. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Alice Spaccini from Luca Cuscioni Association and Humans, and in Italy I coordinated My Voice, My Choice together with Federica Vinci and Matteo Cadeddu. My Voice, My Choice asks for something very concrete, the creation of a European fund to support access and to safe and legal abortion in all member states. A right which, as we know, is still denied or severely limited in too many situations. And I speak today on behalf of Italian reality, where abortion has been legal since 1978 under the law 194, but anyone familiar with the situation on the ground knows that the access is far from guaranteed. In some regions in Italy, up to 80% of gynecologists are objectors. Serious obstacles and primarily concern internal and domestic policies. And there are concrete examples in Italy where My Voice, My Choice found could truly make difference for women. The first concern pregnancies beyond the 22nd week. I'm talking about very advanced pregnancies where the fetus could potentially survive outside the womb. In these cases of late diagnosis of severe fetal anomalies, Italian law allows termination of pregnancy only if there is a serious risk to the woman's life, and obliges the physician to everything possible to preserve the life of the fetus. In practice, this means that the fetal demands is prohibited, forcing many women to seek care abroad on their own expenses. In such situation, our European fund could provide tangible support, covering the cost of the procedure, not replace national healthcare system, but removing the financial barriers. So we ask to the European Union to listen to this request, signed by millions of citizens across Europe. In Italy alone, more than 165,000 have signed, because reproductive rights, freedom of choice, and self-determination are and must remain a cornerstone of fundamental rights in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now I will ask Sara Doria to explain why this meeting today was so important and basically how we see the whole situation from a little bit of distance.
I want to start by saying that I really love this crowd and what we represent. So I see Nika, Alenka, and Nina from Slovenia, Alice from Italy, Belle from Malta, Alicia from Germany, Perrine, Matteo, and Melody from France, and so many others who are not there, but from many corners of Europe. We are Europe, not only because we are European, but because we live by the promise of Europe. The promise of a better future for anyone on the continent, no matter who they are, where they come from, and what they believe in. The promise of solidarity, standing up for what's right, and pushing each other as countries to be bold about that vision. What we created with My Voice, My Choice is building on that promise. People coming together from different parts of the continent, supporting each other and growing a movement for change, for progress, and for justice. Meeting the Commission is an important step in the process. Why is that? We are very, very proud that we were able to meet with the Commissioner this morning and to present and defend our initiative. Today is also the moment where this vision of what Europeans can do together meets with the institutions that represent them. Today is the moment where we are calling on the institution to play its role, carry the voices of the people to fulfill that promise of building a better future. We know how important it is at this moment. While around the world authoritarianism and hate become political offers, and rights and freedoms are attacked, Europe can be the beacon of hope for many and the leader in the fight for democracy and equality for all. Abortion rights and access is at the core of a democratic Europe, because what is democracy when you can't get the healthcare you need and you can't choose for your body and your future? Ursula von der Leyen said in 2019, which we reminded the Commission this morning, and I quote, "The European Commission's task in this field is to provide full support to Member States' efforts in implementing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals relevant to women's health, universal access to sexual and reproductive care, family planning, and education." End of quote. So we have no doubt that the commissioners and the MEPs will step up to that moment, defend our initiative, propose a bold resolution and vote in favor of its adoption. Because at the heart of this initiative is the very essence of what Europe was built for, protecting our freedoms and our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. A very big part of the campaign will be happening here in Brussels, around the institutions. Noda is our coordinator of volunteers here in Brussels, and he will be the last speaker of today's conference.
So, as everybody said, Commission has time till the March of 2026 till they provide us with the official answer. And till then, we are staying in Brussels, and we are planning to become the biggest movement this city, or I'd say this continent, has ever seen. The biggest part of our initiative of collecting signatures, of just being everywhere, were our incredible volunteers across Europe. And we're continuing to build this incredible community in Brussels as well. When I first joined this movement, the founder, Nika, told me that this whole idea is built on a friendship. And in the beginning, I didn't quite get that. But as I spend more and more time with people in my team, I've realized what she meant. It's all about people who take care of each other, people who rely on each other, and in the end just love each other. And this is exactly how I feel when I'm interacting with incredible volunteers in Brussels. You're going to see us in every cafe, in every restaurant. You're going to see us at every bar, at every community gathering place, so that whenever MAPs are leaving their offices and going to have some fun or buy a coffee or do whatever, they'll see our pink posters, they'll see our flyers, they'll see a guy, a girl, anyone wearing our shirts, so that they know that we are everywhere and we will be here for a long time, as long as it takes. Thank you so much.
What I want to say at the end is that basically When we were collecting signatures, and it was a very, very long process, we realized that the people who were signing for our initiative were very different. At the beginning, we thought that it will be mostly younger people, students, high school kids who will stand with us. But later we realized that it was so much on retired people, that people from different religious groups joined, that people from different professions and different political parties. We managed to build what we built because we found a universal value in the Europe, which is respect for reproductive rights and also making sure that the amount of unsafe abortions in Europe declines. What we want to do in the next couple of months, for us, it's very clear. We want to continue to build this diverse community in the institutions with the politicians and commissioners. We do not want to work just with one side of political spectrum. We are super happy that with us are standing proudly members of the left, members of the Social Democrats, members of the Greens, members of the Liberals, and also members of the EPP. We want to give a message to every single person who is suffering because couldn't get access to abortion. We want to give a message to families of women who were killed in hospitals that we are standing behind them, with them, and that together we will do something to change this. For us, this is only the beginning. This meeting was a first moment in the institutions. We had a lot of meetings in the European Parliament, and we will have a hearing there, and we will need to convince members of European Parliament to stand with us, and we also know the commissioners. The path will not be easy. Until now, there was not a single initiative which succeeded, but what I also know is that it's not just us, the people on this stage and the people who are talking today, but we have thousands, not thousands, hundreds of thousands, stub-born people who believe that a change is possible and that we can build more united Europe. Thank you.